Hi, I'm Anthony, a volunteer with LoveCry.
Hi, I'm Jesse. I'm running LoveCry.
Awesome. So today's topic, what we thought to talk about was how to talk to someone in your life. So someone in your life could be your mate, your partner, a family member, a colleague at work, boss, whatever. So how to talk to people with disagreement, how to have disagreements. And, when we were kind of brainstorming a little bit, Jesse, you were saying something really insightful, which is that when you discuss a disagreement, that could be an argument, right? And it could be something that ultimately deepens and improves your relationship with that person, whether it's a friendship, a partner, a romantic partner, a workmate, whatever. Or it could be something that really distances you. And I definitely can think of people that it terminated, a friendship or a relationship when there was a disagreement. So do you have to agree with someone to be friends with them? Do you have to agree with someone to love them? Or to be in love with them. And I just remember meeting one dude who was Muslim, and he was a teacher of Islamic studies in a university, and he's married with kids, and his wife was a Christian. So obviously they have agreed to disagree or mutually respect or whatever it is. Because, generally when you're in a religion, you want other people to be in your religion because you think your religion is great, and that's why you're following that religion. So everyone else should too, because so that was just like one example that came to mind. But there could be differences in how you feel about a certain world topic that's going on, an issue in the news, or probably more difficult to talk about something that's happened from that person. Like, you did something that pissed me off, right? So if you say to someone, you did something that pissed me off, you'll tend to put them on the defensive. So how, someone pissed you off, someone who's important to you, how do you approach that? How do you word things? What's your intention going into this discussion, which could be healing or it could be like breaking?
Yeah, because for me, I guess like it depends on the relationship. So, say if you're going into a meeting that isn't there, like they're looking to find something on you to go against you in, like, say, a doctor's office, court, things like that. So, what's my point?
Oh, it'd be like how it depends when you're approaching a disagreement.
Yeah, the relationship. So say that's what their intentions for. So you don't go in there with your defenses down. Your defenses have to be high,
right?
Because otherwise you're going to get hurt and retaliate. So that way is another way to try to deal with that misperception is know that this is what they're saying and thinking, and be kind. Be kind. Be yourself regardless, no matter how much they try to hurt you, because then that will benefit you and your relationship to yourself and also to them. Even if they're trying to get you, you're building respect by how you handle it. And then say with like say a friend, to not judge them based on their decisions or what they believe in is huge, and that opens the door for change for both of you. So say your friend um, doesn't believe in COVID, won't wear a mask, won't go out, like, won't shake hands, won't hug people. And you're like, you're an idiot. Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing that? You're so stupid. How is that helpful for that person based on those fears that they have inside themselves? You're just judging them, making them feel more concrete, and then making yourself feel more isolated. And now you're hurting each other. Instead of just expressing, like, hey, this is how I feel about it. How come you feel this way? Like, these are my concerns. What are your concerns? And then maybe you guys could work out something of balance rather than my way's right or your way's right. And then there's a mutual agreement, something that everyone agrees upon together, and that builds friendship, relationship, community. And then for me with my wife, because there's always discrepancies, we always have differences of opinions on things. Sometimes we get into arguments, but those are necessary in life because those things teach you how to grow. And instead of being like, well, you did this or you did that, you kind of explain how you're feeling and how it's affecting you.
Okay.
And
so your lady or a friend has done something to piss you off.
Yeah.
So rather than saying, hey, you did something that pissed me off, you'd be like, hey, this is how I was feeling as a result of this situation.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So you kind of come at them with how you were feeling. Like, this is how I feel now, or this is how it made me feel. like, made me feel like, could you say things like, made me feel like I wasn't important to you?
No, you could say
Or,
that I felt like I wasn't important, because if you say
okay,
you made me, then it's like still putting the
okay, so you
blame.
made me feel like I'm not important to you is kind of wrong because they're going to defend.
Yeah, you're still blaming.
So in a sense, you're almost verbally giving them a benefit of the doubt, and you're still honoring how you felt. So you're like, that made me feel like you don't care about my needs.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not saying you don't care about my needs.
Yes.
You're saying
That's
that
how I
made
felt.
me feel like you don't care about my needs. Okay.
And then you could ask for an explanation, an understanding from their aspect for where they were coming from also.
Right.
Also.
Okay, so like when you did that, like tell me what was going on for you. So you're inviting them out rather than having them build a wall. Like, no, you're calling me an asshole. Basically, I'm going to build a wall. You're like, what was going on for you when you did that? And they might say, well, at that point, I was kind of feeling like I didn't matter to you, and then you kind of have this mutual like, oh, that's not what I meant, and then you could get some understanding over what happened.
And if you want to be heard yourself, you better be willing to hear the other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's
so these open questions, like, what was going on for you at that point?
Because even if you disagree with their feelings, like that doesn't matter. You still have to allow them to speak, and then you could refrain with how you feel from that aspect, and then that's how you create balance and understanding. But if you're just like, my way is right, I don't care what you're saying, then you're creating distance, separation, competition, jealousy, anger, resentment, you name it. You're creating all these negative emotions and effects just for a relation, just for a belief, just for a way that you want to be. And if that's really beneficial to you, then you wouldn't have to beat someone down to be the same, because you would already feel secure in yourself. You don't need them to believe it too.
So someone who is like an iron fist about it, like, you have to see it my way. You're saying that that's kind of showing you that they have insecurities about that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because if they don't have insecurities about it, it's like, well, let's have a dialogue about it. So I'll hear you out on why you don't see it my way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because that creates that safety, like you go into somewhere to talk and no one's listening to you. Are you going to listen to them?
Right.
You're just going to dismiss them. So if you think about putting yourself in the shoes of how you would react as well, that's helpful too, because then you can see, okay, I understand how you felt that way. And then I'm sorry for what I've done, but this was my intention, or this is what I was trying to do. And then you could work from there to try to create a different way of approaching them. Because otherwise you're just going to keep doing the same thing and then saying that you're wrong for how you feel and I'm right for how I feel. And until you agree with me, you're wrong and I don't care.
But like, perhaps another reason for the iron fist is that, like, the iron fist, like, you got to see it my way or forget it, is that there could be insecurities about that point of view. But another reason might be that we've identified our ego with this. Like, so rather than I am Anthony, well, I am a conservative, or I am a liberal, I am a Republican, I am a whatever. And so, but we're not. Like, you're just you, so these labels are not you. And so the essence of you is just something that's independent of any label. But, also, and, I've definitely done things the wrong way, but where I've done things the right way has been like with my two brothers that we're three brothers. We have completely different political views. And we've had some discussions, but we've never been like, you're a loser for feeling like that, or you're a schmuck for being in that political party. We've never had that. And so that's just like an agree to disagree kind of thing.
And then something similar is not as romanticized, not as romantic as that, like not romantic, but as good sounding, like the relationship with my family. So like there's a lot of judgment towards me and how I live based on love, forgiveness, because they're atheists and don't believe in these things. So they've judged me and like kind of like push me out of their life, even though I try to accept them for who they are. It's like I will never be something that is good enough for them, and I accept that, and I'm not hating them, wishing them harm. I would let them come to my house. I would see them if they wanted to. But that's another side, because sometimes when you're dealing with this, it takes two to fix it, right? So if you're in a problem, it takes both sides to work. So if someone that you care about is constantly doing these things to you, you've got to be wary of that, because they're hurting you, and it's over and over again. So you have to have defenses. You have to protect yourself. Otherwise, you're going to get angrier. You're going to have more resentment, mental health issues, and you're going to be reactive.
So, like, have that intention, but also be awake and aware that you have to have some kind of reciprocation of that intention. So the intention is, let's discuss, let's respectfully get to know each other better over this issue. And if it's really not there on the other side, you don't want to bash your head into the same wall until your head falls off, right? Because
that's also like an insecurity too.
But sometimes it can also be the moment. So I remember, my late father, God bless him, my late father and I were having a huge discussion, and I was flipping out. Like, I was flipping out. And I won't get into details of what we were disagreeing with, but he just said, really calmly, like, you sound upset right now. Let's talk about this another time. And that right away de-escalated me, right? And in fact, it was like the next day or something that I called him and we talked it out, and it was cool. So sometimes when you walk into a disagreement, you can kind of say, like, okay, you know what, let's abandon this mission for the moment and we can revisit it. Because sometimes, heads can get too hot and then you can't calm them. So that was just a brilliant way that my dad handled that situation, because I was just like off my rocker in that moment.
And then for me too, sometimes with those things though, like those fights when we say break apart, like let's talk about it later, you're kind of diffusing the energy. So you're not gonna continue the same. You're not gonna heal the same way, if that makes sense. Like, so this conversation gets heated because there's something there, and then if we go away and say, "I'll come back," to me that kind of dies the energy down, and then you're not talking about the same thing anymore. So the energy doesn't get addressed. I'm not saying that's what happened there, but I'm just saying just be careful of that as well, because that can happen.
Oh yeah, because I hear that from couples too. Like, oh, when we fight, I just go for a big walk, and then when I'm back from my big walk, then we talk about it. But you're saying, if it was so heated, there could be an underlying issue that's waiting or asking to be healed or addressed, right? So if you lose that impetus, then you might just lose that opportunity.
And we don't like negative,
right?
So we push that away,
which is a massive problem in connecting with yourself, and it's a massive problem with connecting with another person. Like, let's only talk about positive things, and let's only think positive thoughts. Oh, that's a negative thought. Oh, I'm going to push that out of my head, which is a great way to drive your inhibitions deeper and make your problems more concretized. So the negative things are very important to deal with. Like, do you somewhere inside yourself feel like a loser? Examine that. Don't ignore it. Do you somewhere inside yourself feel like you fucked up? Examine it. Don't ignore it, repress it, because it's not going anywhere.
And we really need to look at jealousy and resentment and those things too, because especially for longer period relationships, we each do things that hurt each other, make each other upset, bother each other. So if you look at families, a lot of people, they only get together when it's like Christmas, Thanksgiving, like when they have to. Like, oh God, here we go. I have to go to family stuff or a funeral or a wedding. It's never like, hey, let's meet up because we're just going to go have fun. And to me, that's.
So there's a lack of communication there. There's what's the word, when there's repressions there, right? Like, so if we meet too much, then those things that I'm keeping handily and tidily repressed can come up.
Yeah, my judgments, my resentments, my jealousy. So if I don't come around you, I don't feel like that anymore. And it's like, well, what?
But what is it solving?
Yeah, exactly. What was it created for in the first place? Was it something I'd done? And then they most likely can't even really answer those questions because it stems from within inside. So yeah, I just think that the negative is a really important aspect in arguments, because everyone gets to this negative point and then they're afraid of what they're going to say to each other, and then they don't want to say it. And yet, yes, those things can be harmful, degrading, abusive, traumatizing, but they're also healing if they're dealt with.
So bring it out. Bring it out.
Yeah. If you're just lambasting each other, yelling, da-da-da, and then don't come to an understanding and do the same fight, and then the same fight, and then the same fight, that's not healthy. But if you fight and get to that peak of negative and then break it down to how it got to there, you'll start to see other intrinsic thoughts and judgments and things that are going on inside your own head that are helping perpetuate the situation as it is.
It was just reminding me, like, a friend of mine heard this couple arguing, screaming their heads off, and one of them was saying, "And that $200," and so they fought so many times, and she kept hearing about this $200. She's like, "I really wanted to just take $200, go up there and give it to them and say, would you just stop arguing?" Because they kept bringing up this $200 so many times. So yeah, like if you just keep going into a negative loop, then that's not going anywhere because we keep having the same argument, right? So it's like, sure, get to that crisis, but have that faith that you can get past it. So walk into that wall of fire, and with that intention that we're going to get a deeper understanding out of this, and we're going to fix this. But first, we need to take that drawer and empty it on the ground, and then put it back.
No matter what westernized society thinks, if it brings love to your life, then what does it matter what this system thinks? Because that's the point, is that we're all afraid to be who we are based on a system approach that's based in colonization, and we really need to look and be more aware of how this has impacted all of us.
And colonization is all about, like, hey, I'm an imperial power and I'm coming here to improve your life, right? So it's about, like, I'm going to be positive because everybody wants positivity, but it's not improving your life. So, be who you are, express yourself.
It's creating enemies for you. If you really look at it, if you see that all this positivity, you'll find that you're attacking people who aren't fit in that judgment or that belief that you have. And if you pay attention, you'll see that you're being hateful, negative, hateful, mean, degrading, judgmental, jealousy. Like it all stems there, but we're all too afraid to look there because we don't want to be called sick. We don't want to be called bad people.
We don't want to think of ourselves as having some sickness within us or something wrong within us, and we all do. Hello, newsflash. Yeah. But how many times have I heard...
The world's still bombing people.
How many times have I heard, positive people saying, I can't have somebody like that in my life. I think I have somebody like this in my life. But what gives us strength is a social network of people that are different from you that you're going to learn from, as long as you have that, that mutual respect. And if you have a fight, that mutual respect might look like it's gone out the window for a bit, but you can get it back, and then that fight is going to clear the air on certain things.
Because when you have a fight, people get hurt. And then when you show you care, when you show that, like, that meant something to you, that builds the relationship. But if you each get hurt and I don't want to say swear to you, you deserved it creates separateness, and competition, and divide, and, like I said, jealousy.
And competition is about jealousy too. So I'm going to perceive myself as better than that person, and I'm going to be the one that snips them out of my life. So now I'm in a position of power. I've taken them out of my life. And that's pretty egoic, because the fact of the matter is that we all need people in our lives. None of us is an island.
Yeah. And then when you have a fight that keeps going in circles, I forgot to say this earlier, that's egocentric fighting. Because you're not listening to each other and trying to come to a solution. You're both mad about what you didn't get. So it just goes in circles, and then there's never a solution because no one's looking for a solution. You did it. Right. That's my solution. You did it. Right. Solved.
Your fault. Yeah. If you wouldn't keep fucking up, we'd be fine.
Exactly.
But both sides think that, and then we got a problem.
And then you're just chasing that hamster wheel around in circles, and and then, like, if you have kids, and then you try to blame the kids while you're staying with the relationship, and then the kids get old, and then you guys break up, and you don't think that impacts your kids still, and then you blame them for why you're with them. I only stayed with your mother because of you. It just keeps deflecting the actual issue within inside itself because it doesn't like what it's doing. So you did it. It's your fault. You're making me feel better.
Yeah. So there's a little, we scratched the surface, but I think that all of our videos, Jesse's gems of information is going to help us with that relationship with yourself. Because as you help that relationship with yourself, that's going to help you relating to other people. It goes hand in hand.
That's the most important part. Yeah.
It starts from there.
It's the self. Because if you love yourself and you can relate to yourself, no matter how mean these people are, you'll still care for them. They will call you an asshole, and you'll be like, I understand. You'll be like, inside
you don't take
yourself.
It so personal, because you don't have that I'm an asshole inside yourself. So
it's an ego projection. If you're not doing things to harm them, it's just a judgment, and and on that, like it's a projection.
And you can see through it that there's somebody behind there who's hurt or
Yeah,
scared.
exactly. If you use your heart and connect to their heart, you can see that, and it changes them. Not in like changes them, but it makes them feel like there's a chance. It gives them hope, regardless if they feel it or not. It's like planting a seed. When you love someone who doesn't expect you to, it does things that are beyond.
It does.
You know, like, and you can't scientifically prove it. You can't scientifically look at it. You just have to believe. You know?
Yeah, being tender with someone when they don't deserve it, you know, it can really move mountains.
Yeah, exactly, when they don't deserve it.
But, you know, giving other people a break helps you to give yourself a break. So it again goes back to the self. You know, what you're doing outside happens inside. What you're doing inside happens outside.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's a little primer for today.
Right. Yeah, all right. We're good?
We're good.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.